Today on the Transplant Helper, we're going to be talking about that extremely popular, widely used, over-the-counter sleep aid melatonin and exactly why it may not be working for you. Stay tuned.
Hit the subscribe button and the bell notification to become part of the Transplant Helper community.
Hey folks, welcome to Transplant Helper again today. My name is Jim Merle, and I've told you here on the program many a times, I struggle when it comes to getting a good night's rest. Whether it's the fact that I cannot get to sleep to begin with, or else I do and I wake up a million times, or even some days I feel like I've gotten a good night's rest, but in the end of it, when I wake up the next day, I feel like dirt. I've been there, done that. I've got the card, and I know many of you watching this video, you're in the same boat. You struggle to get a good night's sleep, therefore you cannot function well the very next day. Okay, and with that being said, there are always a lot of options that are on the table as far as sleep aids, things that we can get, whether over the counter or prescription. Either one of them we can possibly get access to that can potentially help us sleep. And one of those medications I've been on for years was that doctor prescribed prescription drug Ambien. But I'll tell you up front, look me in the eye so you can be sure to hear this. I hate that drug, okay? I've taken it in the past. It's actually helped me to sleep, to get a good night's rest. However, the side effects can be horrible, okay? And I've got an entire video series I'll link up here in the corners, maybe in the description below as well, where you can go ahead and check out my Better Sleep series, which this video eventually will be a part of such. But check out my Better Sleep series, and you can even watch those videos where I've talked about that drug Ambien and the horrifying things that it has done to me in my life. So I don't recommend it, but that is one of those available. Others will talk about Ativan, other options that are prescription, but that's not what we're talking about today. Today we're talking about the over-the-counter medication that is available, melatonin, which can potentially give you a better night's sleep. However, I see a lot of people who say, I've been down the melatonin road before, I've taken the drug, it was ineffective, it didn't do any good, it didn't help, or maybe even they say it caused them to have worse sleep problems. And that may very well be the case. Every medication, every drug, whether prescription or over the counter, it's going to have a different effect upon each of us, so you may or may not find success. But with that being said, today I want to talk about melatonin and talk about particularly 3 things that could be going wrong if you're taking it that are causing you to have a poor night's sleep, okay? And number one of that has to do with poor timing. The number one reason why people fail to find success with melatonin is because of poor timing. And I mean by that, they're not taking the medication at the right time of day in order to get a night's sleep. And the basic principle of that consists of a couple of things. Number one, you really need to be taking that medication about an hour to 2 hours before you try to go to bed. If you just try to flop down in the bed, pop a melatonin pill in, and think you're going to get a night's rest, you're probably thinking the wrong thing, okay? This medication is intended to be taken over a few week process to build up in your body, and as that is done, it's intended to be taken 1 to 2 hours prior to you actually trying to go to bed. And it also has a lot to do with, timing-wise, whether or not it's actually dark, okay? Whether or not you can look out your window, wherever you live, and see darkness, okay? Because the real drug that is there is not just produced in a pill, it's actually originally produced in your mind, and it has to do with circadian rhythm. It has to do with a certain gland in your brain that produces a hormone called melatonin that helps you to get to sleep. And if you cannot find darkness in front of you, as in outside or even in your environment, you're probably not going to get to sleep. So poor timing is the number one reason why this medication is ineffective. Take it 2 hours or 1 to 2 hours before sleeping. Make sure it's dark outside. That is extremely important. Number 2 has to do with poor dosing, okay? I get it with many medications. Say you're going to take some Tylenol for a headache. If you can reach for a bottle of 500 milligram versus a bottle of 650 extra strength, you might go for the extra strength because more is better, right? At least that's sometimes what we mistakenly think. Well, in the case of melatonin, that is absolutely not the case, okay? You can buy this from anywhere from like 0.25 milligram up to like 10 milligram or higher, and we oftentimes think the higher the dose, the better. If I'm struggling to get to sleep, or if I take a few milligrams that doesn't work, I'll double it up the next night and it'll get better. That's rarely the case with melatonin. As a matter of fact, less is actually more when it comes to melatonin. The reason that kind of comes into factor is because, yes, your body is producing for itself, we hope, a small amount of melatonin within itself. And if you take a high dose of melatonin, say right in the onset, you just jump in at say 10 milligrams, which few people will actually recommend. But say you just jump in and start taking a 10 milligram tablet of that. Basically, even though the melatonin is getting in your body and starting to build up, on the other side of that, your body's actually saying, hey, he's taking this drug, he's taking melatonin, therefore I don't need to produce it naturally in my brain anymore. And so what you've actually done, yeah, you're taking 10 milligrams over here, but say your body was producing 5 milligrams on its own, you don't get 15 milligrams, you're back down to 10 because your body starts saying, I don't need to produce it. I don't need to make that. He's going to take it artificially. He's going to give it to me. And over time, that can actually damage that particular gland to where your body stops producing it altogether. And of course, that would be detrimental. And then the best thing you can do is go higher and higher on the dosage. It's going to be a mess. So typically what is actually recommended, again, in this case, less is more. It's probably better to start out on a dose such as, say, 1 milligram. Take that. Just give your body a little kick, a little boost. Just give it that added whatever it needs to go ahead and doze off, and you'll probably be better off for it. And oftentimes the reason why people say that they're waking up all during the night, even though they've taken it, maybe it helped them to get to sleep, but they can't stay that way, sometimes it's because they've taken too much. So it's just been a week or so ago, I was in my son's neurology office, and she recommended that he take some melatonin, which has actually helped him, but she told us point blank, don't take but 1 milligram at a time. Taking that 3, 5, those 10 milligrams, probably not a good idea, and probably is going to have a reverse effect. So poor dosing is a problem and can cause it to be ineffective. Number 3, poor habits, okay? Not just poor timing, not just poor dosing, but poor habits are probably the real reason, the underlying reason why your experience with melatonin has not been what it ought to be. And what I mean by that is it doesn't do any good to take a drug that is supposedly telling your mind it's time to rest, it's time to sleep, it's dark outside, and then it's not really dark. Okay, it could be pitch black dark, see nothing outside but stars and maybe a few lights, flashing from cars, and then you turn around like I'm very guilty of doing, and you stare at your phone for 2 or 3 hours before you go to bed. Now, for many, many years, I've thought to myself, the best way to get to sleep is to relax, and oftentimes I do that by watching a YouTube video or pulling up something on Netflix or reading a book or reading a story. I get it. And back in the olden days when we were picking up physical copies of books and reading or something like that, that was true. But when you got a screen that is constantly reflecting back to you that blue light effect, which is completely overriding your system's natural ability to produce melatonin and completely overriding whatever medication you pop to add to that, it's just not going to work, okay? So having a poor habit is going to be very detrimental to whether or not this medication will be used. And it doesn't just include screen time. It can include the fact that you're not going to bed at the right time, as in it's dark outside, or maybe you're going to bed at a very inconsistent time. And I'm certainly guilty of that. One night we're in the bed, we get everybody settled, it's 9:30. The next night is 10:30. On Friday night, boy, we're tired from the work week, so we deserve to watch a movie. We're up to 11:30 or 12. That is absolutely messing my brain up as far as producing natural melatonin. It doesn't matter what supplements I'm taking, what added melatonin I'm popping, if my sleep habits are inconsistent. So the best thing to do, avoid screen time for at least 60 minutes to 2 hours before bedtime. Take that 1 to 2 to 3 milligram pill. 1 is recommended to start. Take that melatonin. Go ahead and lay down, close your eyes, black things out, read a book, listen to a story, but stay away from screen time and do that consistently. Find yourself a bedtime, even if it's midnight. Decide in your mind, I'm going to bed every night at this time, and I'm going to try to wake up tomorrow at that time, and you'll naturally begin to retrain your brain, redevelop it so that you can get a better night's rest. I hope you found this beneficial. I hope it's something that can help you. If you're already on melatonin, go ahead and comment below. Is it effective or not? Is it possible that maybe there's some adjustments you can make that would make it better? I just want to learn, okay? I'm struggling myself with this. Many of you are, and I just want to share together. So be a part of this Transplant Helper community. Comment below. Tell us what you're doing to get a good night's rest, how your habits have changed, and how you're going to continue to get better every day. But until we meet again next time, thank you so much for watching. Until next time, stay stronger, friends.